Marilyn's days are a blur of monotony, stretching endlessly in a small, quiet town where dreams often wither in the weight of routine. She lives with her family, commuting to a tedious office job in the city each day. Every evening, she returns home exhausted, only to wake up and repeat the same draining cycle. The empty, unchanging rhythm of her life has left her feeling hollow and restless. Deep down, Marilyn longs for freedom, for a spark to break through the fog of her existence. Yet, her family relies on her income, and her responsibilities keep her anchored to this life she can't seem to escape. She looks out at the empty fields surrounding her family's modest farmhouse, wondering if this is all there is to life. She feels like a prisoner in her own existence, but she hides her growing discontent, fearing that no one would understand. Then one day, she notices a new presence around the farm, a tall, reserved man named Limmuel who has taken up work as a hired hand for her family. There's something mysterious and dark about him, a quiet intensity that both unsettles and intrigues her. With his stoic expression and silent demeanor, Limmuel seems as closed off as she feels. And yet, Marilyn senses that there's more to him than he lets on. Marilyn can't help but watch Limmuel from afar, captivated by his silent strength and the mystery he embodies. He keeps to himself, speaking only when necessary and always seeming to be lost in his own thoughts. He's an enigma to everyone, and the townspeople are quick to judge him as strange, an outsider with a troubled past. One evening, as Marilyn sits on the porch after a long day, she notices Limmuel sitting alone by a nearby tree, gazing into the distance. She feels a strange pull to him, a kinship in their shared silence, as if he might understand her yearning for something more. Gathering her courage, she approaches him and makes a simple comment about the beauty of the evening sky. Limmuel nods, offering a short reply, but there's a depth in his voice that catches her off guard. In those few words, Marilyn senses that he, too, is carrying an unspoken burden. Their conversation is brief, but it lingers in Marilyn's mind. She finds herself wondering about his past and what he might be hiding beneath his quiet demeanor. She's determined to find out more, even though she's not entirely sure why. Something about Limmuel's presence stirs a long-buried part of her, a desire for connection and understanding that she hadn't realized was there. Over the next few days, Marilyn and Limmuel continue to cross paths around the farm. Their exchanges are few and far between, often limited to simple greetings or small talk. But Marilyn notices that, despite his reserved nature, Limmuel seems to soften slightly in her presence. He listens intently when she speaks, and his guarded expression occasionally gives way to fleeting moments of vulnerability. One evening, as they work side by side in the fading light, Marilyn musters the courage to ask him about his life before coming to the town. Limmuel hesitates, his eyes flickering with something like pain, before giving a vague answer. He mentions that he's here to escape his past, though he doesn't elaborate on what that past entails. Marilyn doesn't press him, sensing that his wounds are still raw, but she feels an odd sense of comfort in his honesty, as if they share an unspoken understanding of the emptiness they're both struggling to escape. After that conversation, Marilyn begins to feel a connection with Limmuel that goes beyond words. She realizes that her own restlessness and dissatisfaction mirror the struggles he's hiding. For the first time, she feels like someone truly sees her, not as the dutiful daughter or the reliable worker, but as a person yearning for more than the life she's been given. Despite their growing closeness, Limmuel remains a mystery, and Marilyn finds herself frustrated by the emotional wall he keeps between them. She can sense that he's haunted by something, but he refuses to let her in completely. At the same time, she's aware of her own barriers, the responsibilities and expectations that keep her tethered to a life she no longer wants. One day, Marilyn and Limmuel have a rare, intense conversation in the middle of a rainstorm. Marilyn, feeling overwhelmed by her own frustration and yearning, confronts him about his distant behavior. She asks why he holds himself back, why he keeps his pain locked away. Limmuel is taken aback, his usually stoic expression giving way to a flicker of emotion. He tells her that some things are too painful to share, that he's not ready to confront the past he's running from. Marilyn understands more than he realizes. She knows what it's like to carry unspoken burdens, to feel trapped by expectations and fears. In that moment, she realizes that they're both prisoners in their own ways, bound by their pasts and their unfulfilled desires. She tells Limmuel that sometimes, confronting the pain is the only way to truly break free. Her words resonate with him, but he says nothing, leaving her to wonder if he'll ever truly let her in. After their intense conversation, a quiet understanding settles between Marilyn and Limmuel. They don't speak of it directly, but there's a new openness in their interactions, a silent promise to be there for each other as they navigate their personal struggles. Marilyn continues her daily routine, but with a renewed sense of purpose. She starts journaling her thoughts and emotions, creating what she calls her liberation notes, private reflections on her longing for freedom and her desire to break free from the constraints of her life. Meanwhile, Limmuel begins to make small gestures of openness, sharing fragments of his life with Marilyn. He tells her about his love for the stars, about the nights he spent under the sky trying to escape his own thoughts. Marilyn listens with quiet understanding, realizing that Limmuel, like her, is searching for something he can't quite put into words. Their connection deepens with each passing day, though neither of them fully acknowledges it. Marilyn finds herself looking forward to their shared moments, the quiet conversations and shared silences that offer her a sense of peace she's never felt before. She knows that their bond is fragile, that Limmuel's walls may never fully come down, but she's willing to be patient, to wait for the day when he might trust her enough to let her in completely. Together, they begin to find a glimmer of hope in each other, a faint light in the darkness of their own struggles. Marilyn realizes that, for the first time, she's not alone in her yearning for freedom. And perhaps, with Limmuel by her side, she can finally start to believe that liberation is possible. As their shared moments become a steady thread in Marilyn's otherwise monotonous life, she starts to find an unexpected sense of peace in Limmuel's presence. She feels less isolated and more understood. Marilyn starts jotting down her emotions in her liberation notes each night, capturing her innermost thoughts and yearnings. These notes become a personal map of her soul, revealing layers of her discontent and fragile hopes. One evening, Marilyn decides to share some of her notes with Limmuel. She's nervous, but something tells her that he might understand her thoughts in a way no one else can. As she reads aloud from her notebook, Limmuel listens with an unusual intensity, his gaze softened. Marilyn's words resonate with him. They capture the very struggle he's endured, living life as if in a cage, yearning for something that always feels just out of reach. After listening, Limmuel's expression reflects a flicker of understanding, perhaps even gratitude. He doesn't respond directly, but Marilyn feels a shift between them, a silent acknowledgement that her thoughts have touched him. It's a small moment, but one that deepens their bond. The days grow warmer, and the fields around Marilyn's family farm are lush with life. The simplicity of farm work provides Limmuel with a sense of calm that he hadn't expected to find in this remote town. Marilyn notices that his once guarded demeanor seems to be slowly unraveling, especially around her. One evening, during a quiet moment on the porch, Limmuel reveals a piece of his past. He shares a glimpse of his childhood and the loss of someone he loved deeply, a loss that he never fully recovered from. It's the first time he has opened up about his pain, and Marilyn listens intently, moved by his vulnerability. She realizes that beneath his stoic exterior, Limmuel is carrying immense sorrow, and she feels an ache in her heart to comfort him. For Marilyn, this confession feels like a breakthrough. She senses that Limmuel trusts her in a way he hasn't trusted anyone in years. They sit together in silence as the stars appear overhead, a quiet understanding settling between them. For the first time, they're both able to truly exhale, shedding some of the emotional weight they've been carrying. As the bond between them strengthens, Marilyn and Limmuel begin to navigate the unspoken complexities of their relationship. Although their connection has deepened, they are both painfully aware of the barriers that still exist between them. Marilyn wants to be a source of healing for Limmuel, but she knows she can't force him to open up. She starts to fear that she may never truly know him. One evening, They walk through the quiet fields together, the setting sun casting a golden glow across the landscape. Marilyn decides to share one of her most vulnerable thoughts, that she's scared of living a life that feels empty, of becoming someone who has forgotten how to dream. Limmuel listens, nodding slowly as if he understands her fear completely. But he doesn't respond as she hoped. Instead, he withdraws slightly, as if her words have struck a nerve. Marilyn realizes that her openness has perhaps pushed him too far, that he might not be ready to face his own fears just yet. This distance between them feels painful, yet she knows that healing is a slow process, and she'll need to give him time. Marilyn's restless spirit continues to grow. After her conversation with Limmuel, she's more determined than ever to break free from the constraints of her life. She begins looking into opportunities that might allow her to escape the small-town life and pursue something more fulfilling. The idea of leaving her family and everything she's ever known frightens her, but the thought of remaining stagnant is even more terrifying. Her siblings notice the change in her. She's become more withdrawn, spending more time with her liberation notes and less time interacting with her family. They don't fully understand her yearning for freedom and worry that she's distancing herself from them. Marilyn is caught between her love for her family and her desire for a life that feels more meaningful. Meanwhile, Limmuel starts to feel the impact of Marilyn's growing restlessness. He's noticed her searching glances and her moments of quiet contemplation. He knows that she's reaching for something more, and he feels a sense of dread at the thought of her leaving. Despite his initial reluctance to let her in, he has come to rely on her presence in his life. For Limmuel, Marilyn has become a rare source of comfort and connection. One evening, Marilyn finds Limmuel working alone in the barn. She can sense the weight of his solitude, and without a word, she joins him. They work side by side in silence, their movements in sync. Eventually, Limmuel speaks, sharing a quiet thought about how strange it is to feel a sense of belonging in such an unexpected place. Marilyn is touched by his words, understanding that he's referring to her. The unspoken emotions between them are almost palpable. Marilyn feels a sudden urge to reach out to him, to let him know that he's not alone. She places her hand gently on his, a gesture of solidarity that speaks louder than words. Limmuel freezes, clearly caught off guard, but he doesn't pull away. For a brief, powerful moment, they share a connection that transcends their individual struggles. The intimacy of the moment leaves them both feeling exposed, but it also strengthens their bond. Limmuel's hand lingers on hers, a silent promise that he won't let her face her struggles alone. Marilyn feels a surge of hope, a glimmer of liberation that she hadn't anticipated. The newfound closeness between Marilyn and Limmuel brings a subtle yet significant change in their lives. They both begin to look forward to their quiet moments together, their conversations and shared silences becoming a lifeline in their otherwise mundane existence. Marilyn starts to feel as though she's reclaiming a piece of herself, and her liberation notes reflect her growing courage to seek change. Inspired by Limmuel's quiet resilience, Marilyn decides to take her first real step toward personal growth. She applies for a position at a company in the city, a move that would allow her to escape the confines of her current life. It's a daunting prospect, but she feels ready to embrace the unknown. When she tells Limmuel about her decision, he surprises her with his response. Instead of expressing sadness or reluctance, he encourages her, telling her that she deserves to chase her dreams. Marilyn is moved by his support, even though she can see a hint of sadness in his eyes. She realizes that, for the first time, Limmuel is allowing her to make her own choices without holding her back. In the quiet of the evening, they share one last lingering look, a silent acknowledgement of everything they've shared and everything they've yet to face. Marilyn knows that leaving won't be easy, but she feels a newfound sense of strength with Limmuel's encouragement. The journey toward freedom has only just begun, but she finally believes that she's capable of finding her own path, one step at a time. Marilyn is beginning to sense the weight of her decision to explore a life outside her small town. As she prepares for the job interview, her family grows increasingly curious, even skeptical. Her siblings tease her about leaving, while her parents express concern about whether she's truly ready for city life. But Marilyn stays firm, bolstered by her growing sense of self and her quiet support from Limmuel. Meanwhile, Limmuel becomes Marilyn's silent confidant. Though he rarely gives advice, he listens attentively whenever she talks about her hopes and fears, offering her a safe space to express herself. One night, Marilyn asks Limmuel how he finds peace amidst life's challenges. He tells her that peace isn't something he's ever truly found, but rather something he's learned to create in small ways, even if it's fleeting. His words resonate with Marilyn, giving her the courage to continue down her path of self-discovery. However, as much as Marilyn wants to step into a new life, she can't help but feel the weight of her family's expectations and the fear of disappointing them. She writes in her liberation notes about the struggle of wanting freedom while feeling anchored by those she loves. Her heart is divided between loyalty and self-empowerment, a conflict that Limmuel seems to understand all too well. Marilyn finally makes the journey to the city for her interview. The towering buildings and bustling streets overwhelm her, contrasting starkly with the quiet, familiar landscapes of her small town. In the waiting room, she feels out of place among polished city dwellers, and doubt creeps into her mind. She wonders if she's truly ready for this world, or if she's merely chasing an illusion. The interview itself is challenging. The panel is indifferent, even dismissive of her small-town background, and Marilyn senses that she's being judged for her lack of experience in a professional environment. The realization hits her hard. This new life she's been dreaming of might not welcome her as easily as she'd hoped. Returning home, Marilyn feels a strange mix of relief and disappointment. She had built up her vision of freedom, only to confront the harshness of reality. When she confides in Limmuel, he listens patiently. He tells her that while the world might judge her based on where she's from, it's her resilience that will eventually win people over. His words give her a flicker of hope, reminding her that her journey is just beginning. After her return, Limmuel and Marilyn spend more time together, their bond deepening with each quiet conversation. Their shared experiences of feeling trapped and misunderstood bring them closer, creating an unspoken understanding. One evening, they take a walk to a secluded spot by a stream, where they sit side by side, watching the water flow. In this tranquil setting, Marilyn finds the courage to share her most vulnerable thoughts. She tells Limmuel about her fears of settling for less than what she desires, of living a life that feels unfulfilled. She admits that her liberation notes are filled with dreams that feel impossible in the harsh light of reality. Limmuel listens with an intensity that Marilyn finds both comforting and unnerving. When she finishes, he reaches over and gently takes her hand, saying that it's okay to be scared, that fear doesn't make her weak. It makes her human. The tender moment catches Marilyn off guard, and she realizes how much she's come to depend on Limmuel's presence in her life. Their connection feels fragile yet profound, like a bond forged in shared loneliness and dreams. The comfort Marilyn finds in Limmuel's companionship becomes both a source of strength and a point of vulnerability. As her family continues to pressure her to settle down and accept her life as it is, Marilyn's frustration reaches a breaking point. She begins to feel suffocated, as if her very spirit is being crushed by the weight of their expectations. One evening, after a particularly tense argument with her parents, Marilyn finds herself on the verge of tears. She runs to the one place she knows she'll find peace, Limmuel's cottage. He welcomes her without question, sensing her need for comfort. As Marilyn breaks down, she confesses how trapped she feels, how she's torn between her love for her family and her desire to live a life that feels true to herself. Limmuel listens, holding her hand in quiet support. He tells her that it's okay to want more, that she doesn't owe anyone her dreams or her happiness. His words are a balm to her wounded spirit, and Marilyn feels an overwhelming gratitude for his understanding. She realizes that Limmuel is one of the few people who truly sees her, not as an extension of her family, but as an individual with her own dreams and struggles. With Limmuel's support, Marilyn gains the courage to start making changes in her life, even if they're small. She decides to stand up to her family, expressing her desire for independence in a way she never has before. Though her parents don't fully understand her yearning, they see the determination in her eyes and reluctantly begin to give her more space. Marilyn's liberation notes become a testament to her growth, filled with words of encouragement to herself, reminders that she's capable of building the life she wants. She begins to see herself as more than just a daughter or sister. She is Marilyn, a young woman with dreams and aspirations that deserve to be honored. Meanwhile, Limmuel finds himself feeling more invested in Marilyn's journey than he expected. Her resilience and quiet strength remind him of the person he once aspired to be before life's disappointments dulled his own dreams. He realizes that Marilyn's presence has rekindled a spark within him, a desire to rediscover his own path toward liberation. As the chapter ends, Marilyn and Limmuel share a quiet moment of reflection, sitting side by side under a starlit sky. They both understand that their journey is far from over, but for the first time, they feel a sense of hope and possibility. Marilyn looks at Limmuel with a newfound sense of gratitude, realizing that he has become an anchor in her life, a steady presence that grounds her as she pursues her path to freedom. As Marilyn gains a stronger sense of independence, she feels a shift in her relationship with Limmuel. He's become a source of comfort and encouragement, but she senses an unspoken sadness lingering within him, a heaviness he never shares. Despite his quiet support, there's a wall around him, and Marilyn can't help but wonder about the secrets he guards so closely. One evening, Marilyn tries to probe gently, asking Limmuel about his past and the life he left behind. Limmuel hesitates, his gaze distant, as though he's looking back into a world of memories that still haunt him. He tells her that some pains are too personal to share, and some wounds, once opened, are too difficult to close again. His response leaves Marilyn feeling closer to him, yet more distant than ever. She realizes that, just as he's become a crucial part of her life, he remains a mystery. This moment deepens Marilyn's respect for Limmuel. She recognizes his strength, but longs to know the man beyond his silent support. She hopes that, one day, he'll trust her enough to let her in. As she writes in her liberation notes, she expresses her yearning to understand the man who's become her anchor. For Marilyn, this journey of self-discovery is as much about finding herself as it is about discovering the truth about Limmuel. Over the next few days, Limmuel becomes distant, pulling away from Marilyn in subtle ways. Their conversations grow shorter, and he begins avoiding the usual places where they would meet. Marilyn feels the absence acutely, her heart aching with a longing she doesn't fully understand. She realizes just how much she has come to rely on him, not only for support but as a confidant who understands her in ways no one else does. The distance between them forces Marilyn to confront her feelings. She acknowledges that she cares deeply for Limmuel, more than she ever intended. She yearns for his presence, his calm reassurance, and the silent understanding that exists between them. This realization stirs something within her, a desire to bridge the gap, to find a way back to the quiet intimacy they once shared. In a moment of vulnerability, Marilyn writes to Limmuel, asking him to meet her at their usual spot. Her letter is simple but heartfelt, expressing how much she values him and how his absence has left a void in her life. As she waits for his response, Marilyn feels a mixture of hope and fear, wondering if Limmuel will be willing to meet her halfway. Limmuel finally responds, agreeing to meet Marilyn under the stars by the quiet stream that has become their haven. When they sit together, the silence is heavy with unspoken words. Marilyn asks him why he's been distant, and after a long pause, Limmuel finally begins to open up. He tells her about a painful chapter in his past, a time when he trusted someone deeply, only to be betrayed. The experience left him broken, and he retreated from the world, building walls to protect himself. Meeting Marilyn had stirred emotions he thought he'd buried, but he was afraid of being vulnerable again, of opening himself to potential hurt. Marilyn listens, her heart aching for him. She reaches out and takes his hand, telling him that he doesn't have to face his pain alone. In her eyes, he sees a compassion and understanding that he's rarely encountered. Marilyn's words bring a rare sense of peace to Limmuel, and he realizes that he's found someone who truly sees him, flaws and all. That night, under the stars, Limmuel allows himself to be vulnerable. He tells Marilyn that she's given him a reason to believe in connection again, that her strength and kindness have softened the edges of his wounded heart. For Marilyn, hearing these words is a revelation. She feels a surge of warmth, a bond with Limmuel that transcends words, a connection grounded in shared pain and mutual healing. In the days that follow, Limmuel and Marilyn grow closer, their connection deepening with every moment they spend together. Marilyn finds herself feeling lighter, more hopeful, as if Limmuel has become an anchor for her soul. She realizes that her journey toward liberation isn't just about escaping her old life. It's about finding someone who makes her feel seen, understood, and valued. Their bond, however, remains fragile, built on a foundation of unspoken emotions and shared understanding. Marilyn knows that any wrong move could shatter the delicate balance they've found. She treads carefully, savoring each moment they spend together, cherishing the rare sense of belonging she feels with Limmuel. As they walk through the fields one evening, Limmuel stops and looks at Marilyn with a soft intensity. He tells her that she's the first person who's made him feel alive in a long time. For Marilyn, hearing this feels like a gift, a validation of the connection they've forged. She realizes that, despite her fears and doubts, she's found someone who shares her yearning for freedom, for a life filled with meaning and purpose. Inspired by her growing connection with Limmuel, Marilyn continues to write in her liberation notes, reflecting on the meaning of freedom. She realizes that her liberation isn't just about breaking free from her family's expectations. It's about finding the courage to pursue her own happiness, to build a life that feels authentic and true. Limmuel encourages her to keep writing, telling her that her words have a power that could inspire others. He suggests that she share her thoughts with others, perhaps even publish her reflections someday. Marilyn hesitates, unsure if she's ready to expose her innermost thoughts to the world. But Limmuel's faith in her abilities gives her the courage to consider the possibility. Their relationship becomes a mutual source of strength, each inspiring the other to confront their fears and embrace their dreams. Marilyn starts to see herself as more than just a daughter or sister. She is a woman, with her own voice, her own aspirations. And with Limmuel by her side, she begins to believe that she's capable of achieving the life she's always dreamed of. Marilyn and Limmuel stand side by side, gazing out at the horizon, each carrying a newfound hope. They both know that their journey is far from over, but they are no longer alone. Together, they have found a shared purpose, a desire to seek liberation, not only for themselves but for each other. And as they walk forward, hand in hand, they feel a sense of belonging that gives them the strength to face whatever lies ahead. Marilyn and Limmuel's relationship has grown into something rare and deep, yet both of them are cautious, aware of the fragility that underlies their bond. As Marilyn pours her heart into her liberation notes, she begins to consider Limmuel's idea of sharing her reflections with others. She feels hesitant. What if her words are too raw, too revealing? But with Limmuel's unwavering support, her confidence builds, and a new resolve grows within her to take that leap of faith. Limmuel senses her struggle and reassures her. He tells her that her words have the power to change lives, even if she doesn't realize it yet. Marilyn decides to tentatively explore the idea of publishing her notes, even if it's just for a small audience. Her decision fills her with a renewed sense of purpose, as though she's finally taking control of her life and setting out on a path of her own choosing. At the same time, Limmuel finds himself inspired by Marilyn's bravery. Watching her pursue her passion motivates him to confront his own fears. He begins to consider making peace with his past and letting go of the pain that has haunted him for so long. In Marilyn, he sees hope, a chance to start fresh, to let someone truly see him. As Limmuel and Marilyn become more open with each other, Limmuel starts to reveal parts of himself that he's kept hidden for years. He shares stories from his past, memories he's never shared with anyone. Marilyn listens with compassion, encouraging him to let down his guard and trust her fully. Through these conversations, Marilyn learns about the heartbreak and betrayal that shaped Limmuel's life, leaving him wary of vulnerability. She sees the weight he carries and realizes that their connection goes beyond simple attraction. It's a bond born from mutual understanding and shared scars. Limmuel, in turn, sees how much Marilyn has grown. She's no longer the timid girl she once was, but a woman with the courage to face her fears. Marilyn's empathy helps Limmuel feel seen, and he finally admits to himself that he wants a future with her. But the question remains, can he let go of his past, the hurt that has kept him from fully embracing happiness? Their moments together are bittersweet, filled with love, but tinged with the unspoken fear that they may not be able to overcome their individual struggles. Marilyn's decision to publish her notes marks a turning point in her life. She's no longer hiding in the shadows of others' expectations. As she pours her thoughts into her writing, she feels liberated, as though she's shedding layers of self-doubt and discovering her own voice. Limmuel's encouragement fuels her determination, but it also brings to the surface feelings she's kept hidden, feelings for Limmuel that go beyond friendship and companionship. One night, after an emotional conversation, Marilyn confesses her love for Limmuel. Her voice trembles as she tells him how much he means to her, how he's become her strength, her inspiration. Limmuel, moved by her honesty, realizes that he, too, has fallen in love with her. In that moment, they both let go of their fears and embrace each other fully, allowing themselves to experience the depth of their connection. But even as they find solace in each other, shadows from the past continue to haunt them. Limmuel is reminded of the hurt he endured before, and doubts begin to creep in. Can he truly trust himself to love again? Will his fears end up pushing Marilyn away? With her notes gaining attention, Marilyn's journey to self-liberation becomes public. People begin reaching out to her, inspired by her vulnerability and honesty. Marilyn feels a mixture of pride and apprehension. She's grateful for the support, but the public attention is overwhelming, and she worries about how it might affect her relationship with Limmuel. Limmuel, too, feels the impact of Marilyn's newfound visibility. He's proud of her, but he struggles with feelings of insecurity, wondering if he truly deserves her. Marilyn reassures him, telling him that her love for him is unwavering, that no amount of success could change how she feels. Her words give him comfort, but a lingering fear remains, one that Limmuel can't easily shake. Meanwhile, Marilyn's family begins to see her in a new light. They're surprised by her bravery, her willingness to share her story with the world. Her transformation forces them to confront their own expectations, and they begin to respect her autonomy. Marilyn feels a sense of validation, as though she's finally free from the constraints of others' opinions. Her journey has taken her far, but she knows that her greatest challenge lies in finding a balance between her personal freedom and her love for Limmuel. As Marilyn's success grows, she and Limmuel find themselves at a crossroads. Their love is strong, but the path they're on requires sacrifices, compromises they may not be prepared to make. Limmuel realizes that he must confront his fears head-on if he wants to build a future with Marilyn. He takes a step he's avoided for years, returning to his hometown, facing the people who once hurt him. Marilyn supports him every step of the way, even as she grapples with her own uncertainties. She realizes that their journey isn't about finding perfection. It's about learning to accept each other's flaws and fears. For the first time, she understands that true liberation doesn't mean escaping from everything. It means finding peace within herself and with the people she loves. Limmuel's journey back to his past proves cathartic. He confronts old memories, forgiving those who wronged him and finally releasing the anger he's held onto for so long. When he returns to Marilyn, he feels lighter, as though a burden has been lifted. They both know that their relationship will face challenges, but they're ready to face them together, armed with the resilience they've gained through their struggles. In their final moments of this chapter, Marilyn and Limmuel sit together, watching the sun set over the horizon. Marilyn writes her final thoughts in her liberation notes, expressing her gratitude for the journey she's been on and the love she's found. Limmuel, holding her hand, tells her that he's ready to start a new chapter, a chapter of hope, healing, and love. As they look toward the future, Marilyn and Limmuel find peace in each other's presence, knowing that they've overcome their inner battles and found a place where they both belong. Together, they embrace the beauty of their shared journey, ready to face whatever lies ahead. As Marilyn's writing becomes even more recognized, she finds herself invited to literary events, her words resonating deeply with audiences. She begins to feel the weight of responsibility, sensing that her story of self-liberation has the power to inspire others. But amidst this newfound recognition, Marilyn feels an inner conflict. Her journey has always been deeply personal, and the spotlight brings a kind of exposure she isn't fully comfortable with. Limmuel notices the toll it's taking on her and suggests they take a trip away from the noise, a quiet escape to focus on each other and regain their balance. They travel to a serene, scenic village by the sea, where life is slower and simpler. Away from the demands of her public life, Marilyn finally finds the quiet she's been yearning for. She begins to write again, capturing her experiences with Limmuel, their quiet moments of connection, and the love that has changed her life. During their stay, Limmuel opens up about his own dreams for the future. For the first time, he speaks about marriage and the idea of building a life together. Marilyn is touched, realizing that Limmuel sees a future with her that she's only dared to dream of. They make a silent commitment to each other, a promise that whatever happens, they'll face it together. Returning from their trip, Limmuel and Marilyn feel stronger and more connected than ever. However, just as they settle back into their lives, Limmuel's past makes an unexpected return. An old acquaintance from his hometown reaches out, hoping to make amends for past wrongs. The gesture stirs mixed feelings in Limmuel. He has worked hard to heal, and confronting old wounds feels like reopening scars. Marilyn encourages him to meet this person, reminding him that true liberation includes forgiving not just himself but others, too. Reluctantly, Limmuel agrees. Their meeting is tense, filled with unspoken hurt and unhealed wounds, but through it, Limmuel realizes that he has, indeed, grown. He no longer feels bitterness. Instead, he feels a sense of closure, a readiness to move forward unburdened. This experience solidifies his love for Marilyn even more, recognizing that her encouragement has given him the courage to face his past head-on. Marilyn, witnessing Limmuel's strength, feels an even deeper bond with him, understanding the resilience that has shaped him into the man she loves. As Marilyn's popularity grows, so does her visibility, and with it comes the challenges of public scrutiny. She receives invitations to join prestigious panels, and her work is praised widely. Yet with the admiration also comes criticism. Some people misunderstand her journey, accusing her of promoting unrealistic ideals. The harsh words shake Marilyn, causing her to doubt her work. Limmuel, seeing her distress, becomes her unwavering support. He reminds her of the purpose behind her journey, urging her not to let negativity overshadow her achievements. Marilyn realizes that she can't control others' opinions, and that true liberation lies in staying true to herself. But the pressures begin to strain their relationship. Limmuel, who has been by her side throughout, begins to question whether their love can withstand the changes fame has brought to their lives. He fears losing her to the demands of her public life, wondering if their quiet, shared moments will be overshadowed. Marilyn reassures him, promising that no amount of success will replace the value of their bond. Together, they face the complexities of love in the limelight, determined to protect what they have built. As Marilyn and Limmuel navigate the changes in their lives, they begin to see each other with renewed admiration. Limmuel's constant support, his quiet presence, and his unwavering loyalty have been her pillars of strength. Marilyn, on the other hand, has taught him the beauty of vulnerability, of letting someone into the deepest parts of himself. One evening, as they watch the sunset together, Limmuel realizes he can no longer imagine a life without Marilyn. He gathers the courage to propose, wanting to make a lifelong commitment. In a heartfelt, simple moment, he takes her hand, tells her how she has transformed his life, and asks her to marry him. Marilyn is taken aback, overcome with emotion. She remembers her journey from a woman who was unsure of herself to someone who found strength and love in the most unexpected places. With tears of joy, she says yes, sealing their promise to build a life together. A life rooted in understanding, healing, and unconditional love. Their engagement marks a new chapter, not just in their relationship but in their individual journeys. They have both grown through their shared experiences, and they feel ready to face whatever the future holds together. As the wedding approaches, Marilyn and Limmuel prepare for the next chapter of their lives. They both reflect on how far they've come, from two people seeking freedom and healing to a couple deeply in love, ready to face the world together. The wedding is a quiet, intimate affair, attended only by close friends and family who have been part of their journey. During the ceremony, Marilyn reads an excerpt from her liberation notes, a reflection on the transformative power of love and the importance of self-discovery. Her words touch everyone present, capturing the essence of the journey she and Limmuel have shared. Limmuel, too, shares his thoughts, expressing his gratitude for finding a partner who understands his scars, his past, and his aspirations. As they exchange vows, they make a promise not just to love each other, but to continue growing together, always supporting one another's dreams and embracing each other's vulnerabilities. The ceremony is a beautiful testament to their journey, a journey of liberation, love, and acceptance. After the wedding, they settle into their new life together, building a home filled with warmth and understanding. Marilyn continues her writing, now with a renewed purpose, while Limmuel finds fulfillment in his own work, knowing he has a partner who believes in him. Together, they create a life that celebrates both their individual strengths and the unbreakable bond they share. In their quiet moments, they often reflect on the struggles they overcame to reach this place of peace and happiness. Their love story is not one of grand gestures or perfect moments, but of resilience, healing, and the courage to love deeply and fearlessly. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the story. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more delightful stories.